We're now going to open the floor for questions. If you want to ask a question, we have a mic on the stairs here, and if somebody on the other side of the room doesn't want to run across, I'll bring this mic over to you. And the panel is ready, willing, and able to take your questions. Okay, just a second.
What I would like to know, talking about coordinated effort, what is the next step? How can we get this to continue and make a real difference? And I guess that's directed to you, Caroline. Sorry.
She said she before, well, yes, I will talk about the 25th. That was going to be my parting note on the slide. We are having a rally at the Indian Point on the 25th at 5:30. We are going to do a human SOS. We are going to have an aerial photograph. We are going to try and make it in all the national media. We need you to be there. It is you who are saying, stop this. It's you who are saying, help us. And so we need a big turnout for that. And I'm going to turn the mic briefly to my union friends here because I think they have a couple things to say. Which one wants to go first?
Just on the 25th first, I mean, I'm going to commit, I'm looking up at Jeannie Baldwin, our Regional Executive Vice President, that we will have members out July 25th. But in respect to the collaborative effort and moving forward, again, I mean, the PSAC is committed, not only, of course, in St. Andrews, but in communities just like St. Andrews right across Canada. And as well, the Professional Institute and the PSAC, we have agreed that we will continue to work together, both unions in the federal public service, to make sure that our voices are heard, that your voices are heard, and your communities are protected.
We've been doing, Professional Institute and the PSAC have been doing this work for a long time. As I mentioned when I spoke, that it's getting traction in the communities where it has to, finally. We're going to take the message from St. Andrews and to other communities. It's easy enough to go to other communities and do very much the same thing, very much the way this is organized, we've learned. We're going to do that in other communities, whether it's in Nanaimo in British Columbia or in Winnipeg or towns near Winnipeg, and use this as an example. And then from there, I think to link those communities together to be a unified voice for science in Canada and for what Canada may lose, the reputation, its credibility. I think that's the next step for us, so we're going to be working on that.
Thanks, Gary. Would any of the other panel members like to talk about, answer that? The other thing we are looking to you to help us with is a letter writing campaign. The mayor talked about having the council having written letters to the Prime Minister, to the Minister of Fisheries and Oceans, Keith Ashfield, and to John Williamson. On behalf of the committee, I've written letters to them. I've gotten a similar response to what the town got from John Williamson. I did receive a response today from the Provincial Minister of Agriculture, Aquaculture, and Fisheries, Mike Oldfield, and he said he has raised his concerns with Keith Ashfield on behalf of the what is that supposed to mean? This one? Oh, that one. I told you I was technologically challenged. Okay, I'll do it. And there are people in this community who have done that already, but I think we need to keep it going. We need the momentum. So if you can do that, please get to your computers, do it in a letter, do it in an email. A letter to a member of the House of Commons doesn't cost you anything. Okay. All right, just a second. Both
together? Oh, dear. Okay, my comment is only short, and that is when you write letters, make sure you write a letter to the editor. If your letter is not public, they can send back those kind of responses that you've gotten from John Williamson, which is ridiculous. And so how you hold them to account is making your letters public. You've got to be speaking publicly. People have to see it. The MPs, need to see the public debate, right? The public criticism. Otherwise, they're untouched by those letters. So just constantly think of how to speak publicly when you speak to them.
I just want to give a quick word of encouragement that there's only been one issue this year that the fishing industry has had any success on, and it's around the owner-operator issue. The government was trying to change policy that could potentially eliminate the independent family business of fishing. Across Canada, fishermen wrote letters to the government, 10,000 letters. That was a couple months ago. They had received 10,000 letters in the minister's office. And the issue has, for the moment, disappeared. So it is possible to make a difference with this government, but we need a lot of letters.
Go ahead, Jackie.
Oh, thank you. Jeannie Baldwin, PSAC Executive Vice President. You know, I look around the room, I see about 150 people. You have 260, 300, whatever. But what you need to do, though, is that you need to go out and you need to spread the word to your neighbors and your friends and your family members who are not here tonight. Because it's really important to keep St. Andrews open. The SOS is really important. You got to spread the word. The other thing, too, is that we have two politicians. Let's not forget them. Williamson and Ashfield, and you have to keep their feet to the fire. And that means if you see them out getting groceries, if you see them at an airport, if you see them anywhere publicly, you need to talk to them and say, it's unacceptable, their decision of what they're doing here. You have to make them unacceptable. You know, you have to challenge them. Keep their feet to the fire. And you need to write them a letter. Not a form letter, but a handwritten letter telling them that you are totally disgusted with what their decision and how they're making these decisions, especially in small communities, and how important it is about science. On the 25th, you know what? We don't want like a few people. You need thousands, maybe about 1,000 or more out for that event on the 25th when you put up that SOS. You know, this is going to be an aerial picture, and it's really important that we get many people as possible out there. And at that event, we're going to have letters there, and there's a letter that's going to be an affected letter. You know, you talk about people receiving affected letters. We've got people here that received affected letters. And the letter is going to be an affected letter to two of the Conservative members, Ashfield and also Williamson, to tell them as of October the 15th, 2015, you're out of a job. And that's what you're Thank you.
Thank you, Jeannie.
I don't know who would answer this question, but I've heard it said that current employees have been told not to come and speak, and those who are retired have been discouraged. I'd like to know who is telling these people not to speak, who is issuing those recommendations. I think the public needs to know who's telling them to be quiet.
A lot of...
I'm just Ash from Ottawa, and I remember the PIP for 31 years. My retired colleagues and my former colleagues have received emails saying that they should remember their oath of loyalty to the government. Do you swear an oath of loyalty? When you become a federal civil servant, yes, you do. Coming down.
The With respect to department, what she's saying is she received, as a former member of PIPS, an email that someone, I assume from management somewhere in the department, is reminding them to remember their oath of loyalty. You would take an oath of loyalty, and you could be dismissed for not living up to your oath of loyalty. There's a values and ethics code in the public service. Our recommendation to our members is do not talk in public. That doesn't mean they can't come and sit down and watch, but do not speak out. That's what unions are for, and that's what politicians are for, not for people who work for federal government. But from our understanding, what we gather of it is they're encouraged subtly to not be involved. They're not told, do not be involved. They're subtly reminded, as you mentioned. That's the type of information that comes to them. I might add, there's a tremendous amount of fear across this country for people who work in the federal public service, not only about losing their job, but that they can't even speak.
I just want a clarification on this. So the oath of loyalty is an oath of loyalty to the PMO?
To serve Canada as a public servant.
Yeah, so that
To the
means
Crown.
To the Crown. To the Crown.
has a whole bunch of members who aren't conservative.
No, it's the loyalty to the Crown.
To the Crown.
Okay,
The oath has got nothing to do with whether a public servant can speak or not. The Prime Minister's office communications machine has been at it for 6-7 years. Everybody in the public service knows you step out of line, you get whacked. That's simple.
Yeah, but I just think that legally it's important to know that that oath of loyalty is in fact to the Crown, which is to a much larger body than whoever is in power. That's simply an important thing to know.
Well,
I know they're silencing people, that's obvious.
There's another act called the Public Service Disclosure Act, the Protection Act. It's supposed to protect public servants, and it came up as a result of, and there are certain rules that a public servant is obligated to disclose some things if it has to do with endangering the public. I think that's the only reason where they're allowed to speak against. And we've had scientists fired in the past for talking about their evidence, talking about what it means, the impacts.
We were just joking up here about how it sounds like Bashar al-Assad is going to have a new career after he gets booted out of Damascus and Syria with the way that these guys are handling things. Before I came back and got involved in politics back here at home, I worked overseas for trying to build and expand democracy in countries across Asia and Africa, and people would tell me how lucky I was to come from a country where people could speak freely, where people could assemble freely. And it's something that Tom Mulcair, the federal NDP leader, said a few times. The NDP over the year was often guilty of saying that this is the worst government in Canadian history, and we'd go after the Liberals or the Tories at the time. And sadly, at this point, it's true. We do have the worst government in Canadian history. And hearing that civil servants are being silenced in this way in terms of not being able to allow to come and listen and participate is something that I think this ties back to what we can do. That one of the problems with trying to stop cuts like this is people who don't live in St. Andrews say, well, what does it mean to me? Why do I care about these 5 scientists? I've got my own problems. But I think the one thing that would unite just about every single Canadian is a belief in the primacy of freedom of speech and freedom of assembly. And so when we write letters to the editor, when we talk to our friends, when we send emails, take 10 minutes a day working on this. Everyone in this room commits to spending 10 minutes a day and encourage the people you talk to do the same. It can have an enormous impact. Focus on those issues, because that's something everyone can understand. I was at a meeting in St. Andrews tonight. People who work for our government were told they were not allowed to come and be in the room with fellow Canadians to talk about their jobs and their future. That's the message that we need to get out there, a message that'll resonate far beyond this room and far beyond the concerns of St. Andrews and can link this community in with the dozens of other communities that are being hit by these same sort of cuts. And these are just the first wave of cuts, as has already been mentioned. And if we don't stop them, this will be a growing wave of cuts that will spread across not just the civil service, the public service, it'll spread through the voluntary sector. And eventually we will end up with a Canada controlled by a very small number of very wealthy people who are friends of the man with the crown there. And the only way we can stop this is if we as citizens put the effort in to preserve and protect rights that astonishingly are under threat. Absolutely unacceptable that this be happening, and we have to do what we can to try and stop it. And that means all of you putting that time in. So please, starting this evening, 10 minutes a day, and turn up on the 25th, of course.
Grew up here at St. Andrews, now living away, and still have a great love for this town. And I don't think I need that, John.
We can't record it for broadcast.
Oh, is that right? Okay, so I'm going to be broadcast. All right, that's wonderful. Anyway, I used to work for DFO up until about 2 seconds ago. I am the president of the local UEW, Local Union of Environment Workers, Local 60067, and I would like to take advantage of the fact that we have a federal MP here right now, and I would like to challenge Monsieur LeBlanc to stand in the House of Commons and to tell the House of Commons about your visit here to St. Andrews this evening, and to also speak to the fact that several DFO scientists in key positions here that are being eliminated were actually encouraged not to attend and could not speak, even just about the fact of the work that they're doing, which is factual. In the guidelines, it states that you cannot certainly spread lies or rumors or malicious statements, but there's nothing there that I could ever see that said you could not come and tell the truth about what you do. However, they were told not to be here this evening, and that is shameful. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think we've kept you long enough, and I'm sure people are getting a little...
I have a question.
Oh. Here.
Does it? I really came up here to see if that nose is grown. Is this thing working? Yeah. I do have a question. I've gone to some events lately, and I don't think people realize that at these events, I seem to be encountering economists from Ottawa, and they're promoting industry. So I'm at a native event, and there are economists trying to sell an industry. What is it that our government is now acting as salesmen for an industry? Is this where the tax dollars are going, while they're laying off scientists? The good thing about being here is I don't have to answer the question.
I'm going to look at the politicians in the room.
Hugh, your question is a good one, Hugh. I've thought for a long time that this government has decided that industrial growth, economic expansion should take place at any cost. And whatever civil rights, whatever environmental rights, whatever sustainability principles need to be sacrificed, it's fine, because at the end of the day, some corporate bottom line expanded, some shareholders got a bigger dividend, some company, in fairness, created X number of jobs. They may not be sustainable, but they'll use these phony job figures all the time. So, yeah, I thought for a long time that the Conservatives see themselves as cheerleaders for big industry. Government has a role to promote economic development. Government has a role to promote job creation. All of that's fine, but there's no balance in this particular approach. And they'll sacrifice public services. They'll privatize public services. They'll sacrifice things as important as environmental sustainability in the name of improving the bottom line of some corporation traded on the New York Stock Exchange. And I think that's where they, in fact, disconnect from, as Dominic said, the vast majority of the Canadian public that see that the government can't simply be an unquestioned, unbridled cheerleader for industrial development. And make no mistake about it, when they talk about industry, they talk about big industry. And they talk about big industry in largely, but not exclusively, to be fair, one region of the country. I don't want to sound like Tom Mulcair here, Dominic. But it is, I think your question's right, and every time I see, I'm surprised, John Williamson is a cheerleader for that sort of scorched earth, government out of the way, let enterprise be free approach. He's one of the ideological cheerleaders of that movement. We talked earlier, I think Janice did, about the government spending millions of dollars to allow Revenue Canada to attack environmental charities because they may do some political advocacy. Heaven forfend that somebody should receive a tax credit for organizing public information or advocacy. That's something I think that's fundamental in an open democracy. But Mr. Harper, you can be sure, won't attack the charitable status under Revenue Canada's rules of the Manning Foundation in Alberta, or the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, of course, because their political advocacy is somehow better than every other environmental group that he's trying to muzzle. So.
The problem is that Stephen Harper is an ideological fundamentalist conservative, not a red Tory, not a progressive conservative. And it's much the same way as and now these folks have largely disappeared from the world, but we used to have people on the hard left, communists, who believed that government could do absolutely no wrong. Stephen Harper believes that big businesses can do no wrong. And it's got to the point that I've sat down with the leaders of some of the big businesses in New Brunswick who said, what are these guys doing? They keep on, we need people in New Brunswick who can read and write. Our literacy rate in the province is over 50%, which still astonishes me. That's from a Government of Canada Finance Ministry statistic that will no longer be collected because, of course, they got rid of the long-form census. So, the big businessmen don't want a lot of these changes in some cases. Certainly it does absolutely nothing for small and medium-sized businesses, but it's ideological. They believe absolutely that getting rid of everything government does is going to make Canada a better place. That's what makes them scary. They're not doing it because they think it's because they're trying to be bad people. They think this is actually going to make Canada a wonderful center of the universe. So it's that danger that we have got to recognize, the fact that these guys genuinely believe that they're really doing the best they can for the country. So trying to point out to them that really you're not. Please stop it. It's very, very bad, very, very scary. We want you to stop. Please let's talk about it at the next election. So we have to recall that, and again, take 10 minutes today, every day. Let's try and make sure we can stop these cuts from coming through. Sure.
I was not told not to come. I just want to say we didn't want this to end without recognizing and thanking SOS and the panel, and indeed this large audience, for your interest in the biological station and in supporting the scientific community in this area. It means a lot that you care for the fact that we're trying to maintain numbers and skill sets and core facilities that would allow us to have a vibrant scientific community in this place. So thanks very much.
Carolyn, can I add one thank you to everybody who cares about library and archives? And it brings it back full circle, because it's not just about science. I'm speaking as an old archivist here, but Library and Archives Canada is under tremendous threat, as our president of PIPS will know. And so what's happening at the center here is very much the poster child for what's happening to information for Canadians in terms of library and archives. And digitization is not going to do it. You cannot digitize archival records. You can go to Google Books, but you're not going to replace the library and archives in the station. And so when you write, and I hope you will write, and you must write, make sure you tell them that not only do we need science, and we need the environment, we need history, and we need information, and we need archives, and we need libraries. And digitization will not replace the kind of knowledge that is the foundation of this station. But write.
To both of you, you're welcome. And to all employees there, I know there are a few employees of the station here tonight, and we'll keep doing it for you. I didn't keep my mouth shut when I was a public servant, so why would I start now? And I survived 37 years, let me tell you. I started young, right, Mom? Anyway, there are a number of things that I would like to mention. I think we would like to get these people up and moving to the music over in the tent. Give everybody a glass of Science Aid and some goodies. I first of all would like to thank the panel members. You all spoke eloquently. You raised points that I could never have articulated the way you did. It was good to hear your point of view. It's good to feel the support. I know there were times that I sort of felt, cripes, does anybody care? Am I, there's a few of us who meet every Tuesday afternoon. Are we the only ones? I did forget to show you this slide. Oh, no, it did. Oh, that went there. Sorry, Ernie, you blew it for me. We've got, but so this gives us the energy to go on. I'd like to thank all of you. I know it's been mentioned, but it is a beautiful evening. I could have sat outside and enjoyed the barbecue that my family had that I missed, and enjoyed our view of Passamaquoddy Bay, but it's good to see that you took the time here to come and listen to this panel, and so thank you. We've had the community TV crew working hard to record all this, so it will be live. It will be linked onto our SOS website. So if you have people who couldn't be here tonight who'd like to see what went on, you'll be able to access it through that and also see it on the community TV. So thank you guys, because I know at least one of you, Patrick, came in from Fredericton just for this tonight, and we only asked him yesterday, so he dropped a lot of other things. The union representatives, I've mentioned it earlier, but thank you again, because I know that you have been on the road and you had to change your plans quickly to come here. And one of the good things about being in St. Andrews is you sort of can't get there from here. One of the bad things about St. Andrews is you can't get there quickly from here. So I know it took a bit of effort for all of you to come, and unlike Jeff, who came from Fredericton. But so thank you for the effort, and thanks to the rest of you who traveled. We have a couple media people in the room, and they will probably try to take a couple opportunities for interviews. But most of all, go and have a chat, talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, talk to to somebody new, and enjoy the rest of the evening. And see you on the 25th.